I feel like at this point, I'm just going to say Rockio is going to get voted out. I've chosen them, and they barely get screen time. And they spend all of their screen time voting for Yuri. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with episode 3. Sorry, I forgot. I already did 2. We're back on episode 3 of Gnosia. I hope I'm saying that right. It could be Gnosia. I've heard many other people say it many different ways. Many of them I think are incorrect, but what the hell do I know? We come back, as is per the new normal, for any of you who've only seen episode 2, with notes and a board and a couple of comments. So let's go ahead and look at the board real quick. With the board comes the board changelog, where I connected Yuri to Setsu and Gina with a green line, and I connected Rockio to Setsu with a red line and SQ with a green line. Obviously, I also marked the people who got, what did I call it again? Frozen and killed. I've also added a little reminder sheet on the side about the character traits that I feel like I should probably be keeping track of. I have a whole notepad filled with these things, but I thought maybe it would be easier if I kept them together on a little side thing, so I decided to do that on the board. As I said before, the link to the board or an image of the board will be in the description down below so that you don't have to focus on, squinting at this. It'll be at your beck and call whenever you want to see it. Oh, and obviously I added the bit of Loop 3 that appeared at the end of the episode, more specifically because it contained 2 characters we hadn't seen before, and one of them seemed to be romantically involved somewhat with Yuri, so I wanted to keep that marked down before we started watching this episode, as a bit of a reminder. Anyways, that said, I also have notes. I imagine that we are not actually rewinding time, but entering a new timeline where events play out again. I know in the future of this little note that Rockio does say something about timelines and whatnot, but this was my thought at the beginning of the episode, and I write these down as they come to me as I'm watching. The element that Setsu doesn't have the cube, or the power in the second loop, would seem to imply that. Otherwise, we would have 2 people that could rewind time when things went bad. Though, to be fair, we might. If Setsu let herself go into the cryo without the power going off, then it remains to be seen. However, it also has to be said that the more people that have this power, the worse it actually is for everyone. All it would take is for one of these people to become the Gnosia, and we'd be stuck in a never-ending loop. The regular people win, then the Gnosia would rewind time. The Gnosia wins, the regular people rewind time. There would never be any escape. We would be here for literally ever. Since all possibilities are on the table, until we reduce them by nailing down what is and what isn't, I imagine that it could be that Setsu never used the cube before, and I'm wrong in thinking that she's been in multiple loops before. In which case, she might not actually know what the cube does. So Yuri telling her that she saved him and that he came back might just be gibberish to her. Also on the chopping block of what can and cannot change, Setsu says that they are not a man now. Is that in addition to their previous statement about not being a woman, or is it a change to the timeline and is an absolute statement by itself? The difference being that if it is additive, I am not a man, I am not a woman, could imply something other, like, say, an android. If it is singular, I am not a man, or I am not a woman, it could just be how they identify and would imply that the timeline change affects more than just who is the Gnosia, and a whole of a hell lot more to keep track of, or less, if you consider it would make each loop's information specific to only that loop. as if anything changed from loop to loop, you couldn't reliably use any information you got from the last loop, as any inconsistency might just be the result of looping. You know, if I came to you when I had red hair and I came back and I had black hair, is it because I dyed my hair in this new timeline? Or was I, sorry, bad example. I don't know why I went with hair. It's just the element that any information I give you, like, if anything changes in the timeline, if, say, she was not a man before and she's now not a woman now, and she was a soldier before and she's not a soldier now, is that a result of the timeline, or is it just her adding new information? And the element that you could never be certain which thing it was would mean that you would never be able to rely on any information that you got. I guess you would essentially be in the position that Rakio says when he's laughing about the timelines and everything on his bed, that you're constantly only in the moment and you can only use the information at hand, which is fine for him. Sorry, not him. Fine for them if you consider that you have to be smart enough to be able to figure that out. And I am not. So I'm hoping there's information I can keep track of. I suppose the element of stating that they remember SQ's name was itself enough to skip over the extra time that Levi gave them before, so we don't get the cafeteria scene for everyone to gather and go over basic facts again. I guess I wonder if that's going to be enough this time. Just thinking about it. He doesn't know those two people. So he can't do the I know you SQ thing that happened in loop 2. So not remembering them might give them the opportunity to have Levi give them extra time, have the cafeteria scene again with new people. Because, I mean, it would help us to know these people that we don't know. I believe I mentioned this before, but Gina seems to be an empath. It looks like she reads people's emotions and makes judgments based on them. This time around, when SQ says that she'll have to walk the Trail of Tears, after they heap suspicions on her, Gina seems to curl into herself, seemingly sad, despite the fact that she agreed that SQ seemed suspicious. That also, doesn't behoove for me that I didn't at the time consider that she was the Gnosia. But I think there's elements at play, what's happening, to indicate that if the person has a power and the Gnosia takes over that person, that it might be possible that Gnosia has that power, like it or not. I'm not sure. This is just off the cuff thing, but it might be the element that if a Gnosia takes over a person and say that person has a weakness, the Gnosia now has that weakness as well. If the Gnosia took over Superman, the Gnosia would be weak to kryptonite. If the Gnosia takes over Gina, and Gina has a power to feel empathy for things, want to or not, it might be that then the Gnosia, Gina, also has that. That's my theory right now. I guess it's fairly damning of Rakio's intelligence that they claim that no one else is suspicious, implying Gina flew right under their radar and killed them. Setsu even informs Yuri of how smart Rakio is supposed to be due to their association with the Gly's fleet. These are all elements also that I put on the board, so. I'm still confused as to when Setsu is telling the truth about her past with Yuri. I know in episode 1 I thought it was implied that Setsu and Yuri knew each other from before the ship, like they shared coffee or something. Then Setsu says that they didn't know Yuri from before the ship, and I shifted my thoughts to the fact that they may have just known Yuri before in a previous loop. Now they are faking being lovers, and I'm just no good at this kind of game. Because it could have been that they were lying about not knowing Yuri before the ship. Sorry, the thing that I'm basing this entirely on is the element of when they were having coffee, and Setsu had let me do this, and they had coffee from a person that they knew before getting on the ship, and it felt very much implied to me that that was Yuri. And then they go on to say that I don't know Yuri from before the ship, and it's like, I don't know anymore. Gina kept trying to get people to state their opinions, and admittedly, I was trying to read Gina more for the empath thing, that I think she has to try and see if maybe the Gnosia has no emotion, or if Setsu really is a machine like I was guessing. I also forgot Gina was the Gnosia by the end, so on one hand, I failed to really observe anything from that, and on the other, maybe that's a tactic. Rockio said that no one was really suspicious to begin with, so keeping people talking could increase animosity and cause votes to happen that otherwise might not. So, last time I suggested that I thought the first vote went Yuri voted for himself, Setsu, Gina, SQ voted for Rockio, and Rockio voted for SQ. This time we know that Yuri voted for SQ, no one voted for Yuri and Rockio. I would have to think that SQ and Rockio likely voted for Setsu under the guise that they were trying to lead the discussion away from themselves by controlling Yuri. Then, of course, Gina, the one that was getting people to talk exactly when necessary to guide the conversation, and we know by the end the Gnosia, likely voted assuming those same lines from the other two. Yuri, suspecting SQ, was likely just a fairly weak basis to assume others would vote for her, and likely assumed the others would vote along the same lines as the person everyone regards as having high intelligence. I don't think there's any point to trying to guess who voted for who, but it's very clearly something I'm going to keep doing. So, that don't trust anyone line would have hit harder if it was placed after Rockio's timeline changing conversation. Them saying that they could be the Gnosia for all Yuri knows doesn't jive with what I imagine the viewer is supposed to think, that SQ is the Gnosia. Granted, would have been a massive twist if Setsu got frozen, and we all go to Alagosia, and the anime goes in a completely different direction, but obviously not. Yuri isn't good at listening anyways, since the first thing he does is tell the Gnosia about the time loop. I guess it's a good thing that either the Gnosia didn't believe him, or didn't know what to do about it. Gina does leave him till last, but then still kills him and sets off the next time loop. I think it's an element of the world building versus based on a game that I still don't like. The Gnosia infects people who infect other people, right? So why is it killing people on the ship and not just infecting them? Everyone appearing after a warp would certainly be an odd thing for this group. I'd think, also, having a fellow Gnosia would give you a voting block. Infect Yuri and make the time loop yours. If he's lying or crazy, you still gain someone to vote with you next meeting. Like, imagine it. Say we got 5 people. We warp, you infect one person. Suddenly, all 5 people are still here next meeting. What the fuck? Is the Nazi even still here? Now 2 of you are voting for the same person. Say one of you doesn't get voted off. We go to warp again, you infect a 3rd person. Now it's 3 versus 1. In 2 warps, you've won the thing. Now granted, that's literally what happens anyway. So, maybe my example isn't so prescient or anything. Literally 1 warp. Somehow, 1 warp, we win every time. I'm not the Nazi, I don't know why I said it that way. And the part that I hated from last episode, the Void Walk. They both left the ship. The reason Levi can tell when there is no Nazi on board is because the life signs stop showing up on the ship when the Gnosia enters cryo. Evidently, meaning that when they leave the ship, Levi should have detected no Gnosia on board. I think during the reaction I said it makes no sense, but it does under a small set of circumstances. One, and I hate this one, is that the world of the show can only exist in the game's rules, which is to say, Levi can only do scans after someone goes into cryo, and at no other point. So no matter how short a time it takes to do, Levi just isn't doing it all the time. I mean, to be fair, if we relied on the ship's sensors, we could also probably figure out who left their room during warp and instantly know who the killer was. The secondary effect here is that maybe Gina is good with computers. Maybe she hacked Levi before they left the ship and Levi never scanned because they were essentially offline for it. It still leaves a lot of loopholes, but it's an effort to explain it at least. It would explain why Levi suggests all of these activities for Yuri to do. I also want to say that I didn't trust Gina because of the trust trip that they took. That was obviously suspicious as hell. I trusted her because she left the ship and everything I said above about it. Just some notes about some extra stuff. Alicosia's system has an asteroid belt where ships often get damaged. 3D chess is a sex thing. Okay, 2 more mind bogglers. The airlock scans you to make sure you are safe to enter the ship, so it has localized sensors of some sort. It scanned Gina and detected nothing. Again, I mentioned Levi might have been hacked, so I don't know. Second, the gym scans you and determines what kind of workout program is good for you. Another localized sensor. I gotta think getting infected by the Gnosia does something to your body. Raises your blood pressure, I don't know, something. It makes sense that Gina would take out Rakio, knowing that Yuri has an inherent bias towards SQ due to his story of the time loop, plus she spent the day earning his trust. The only one that she has nothing with is Rakio, and worse than that, Rakio is sowing the seed of doubt as to whether SQ might be the Gnosia again with their knowledge about how time loops work. If Gina took Yuri out, they wouldn't know if the time loop thing turned out to be true. If they took SQ out, then they would have to contend with Rakio's intelligence. Rakio was the biggest threat and the only real move to take. Obviously, there's a note here that there are life forms out there that can time loop. I don't know if that's going to come into play at any point, but Rakio says it, and apparently we take it to be true. No idea what the shimmer that Gina put out was when she said she was human. Is that something Gina does when she lies, and the Gnosia had no choice but to copy it? Or was it something else completely random? The fact that no one else was around that knows just leaves it as a mystery, hopefully one to be solved in another time loop. I mean, we don't know if Gina's going to be in this time loop, so hopefully the next loop Gina's in, if we remember it, we can bring it back up. Well, SQ opening up doors wasn't evidence that she was the Gnosia like I thought it was last episode. Evidently, it's just a thing she can do. I mean, to be fair, we only know she can do it to Yuri's room, but that's still unexplained. What is the implication of the Gnosia's win? It just occurred to me, but when there are only 2 people left and the Gnosia kills the other one, doesn't that alert Levi immediately who the Gnosia was? And Levi could just open the ship up to space and kill the Gnosia. Then seal the ship and then release everyone else from cryo and move on. Like, I understand that it looks like there's only like 5 people on board whenever we've started the last 2 time loops. But, I don't know, maybe I'm just assuming everyone in the opening is always there. There might be an element that every time we time loop, we just start adding more people to the lineup, making the whole thing more complicated. But I think when I was writing this, I was just assuming all of those cryo chambers were filled with people who already got frozen. And that although a bunch of people may have died to the Gnosia, at least as many as, I don't know, half, say, are in cryosleep, which, as Rocky already covered previously, has the risk of dying in it too. But you could, at that final moment, airlock the Gnosia and then let everybody out of cryosleep, and at least that many people would have survived. Anyway, my last note here. Also pretty ominous, I guess implying that the Gnosia Gina, before killing him, hoped that the time loop thing was true and that they would see them tomorrow. I mean, that is just creepy last words. Because he got killed right after that. That's the unseen element. The same way that you heard Rakio screaming and then Rakio was dead. Hope I see you tomorrow. Fade to black. We know Yuri's dead. Anyway, as I said, also have 2 notes from the YouTube side of things. Max Randall from the episode Starting Point. Immediately love the active mystery solving approach you take. As someone who used to religiously play the game this is based off of, keeping track of people's personalities and relationships will likely pay off. Well, I mean, here's hoping. The board, for one, helps me remember names. If you're only watching me react to this show, I may react to, 12 shows a week? Multiple episodes on some of them. So, remembering multiple characters across multiple shows, the board, that's what that's there for. Also the notes. You didn't say details though. You said personalities and relationships. Okay. Maybe I'm just reading too into it. We also have Zavikolo. Lol? Zavikolo? Sorry, I'm trying to read. I'm not good at reading, apparently. From the same episode. In the game, they act different when they're infected by Gnos, so it would be interesting to see if you can spot that by keeping track of the personalities of everyone. Really enjoyed your reaction. Don't worry if you can't guess on the fly who is the Gnosia, but could be fun to see if you can predict who would go on cold sleep each day. Sorry, I'm just thinking about that now. So you're saying that there's no problem if I can't guess what an entire episode's worth of clues could get me to guess, but in a much shorter time span, guess who they're going to vote on. To be fair, I'm no good at Among Us. I believe the last time I played the game, I got into a massive argument with a person who was basically hosting the game with us because we were, I think it was like 2 Among Us, and I was one and he was one, and I immediately threw him under the bus because he was obvious about what he had done, and I wasn't going to pretend that he wasn't one and make myself look suspicious. Threw him under the bus, and he would not shut up. He would not stay off of comms to bitch about it for the rest of the thing. So I just fucking rage quit myself. But the idea is, I also played Secret Hitler the same way. I guess just know that if I'm your traitor buddy in any traitor-based game, the moment that you make yourself look suspicious, I am throwing you under the bus to make myself look normal. Hey guys, I'm on your side, obviously. So, yeah. I have no ability to read guilt in other people. I think I've proven that by being wrong about the Gnosia twice when there's literally a choice of only 2 people. And literally last time, not for nothing, we were told it's not going to be SQ. And here I am at the end. It can't be Gina. It must be SQ. I am just bad at this shit. Anyway, that was the board. That was notes. That was comments. There's nothing left to do here but hopping on into the next episode and seeing what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Alright. Like I said, the entire reason that I put them on the board. Are you just being ironic? I mean, at least we got a friendly person. Well, I mean, SQ was friendly, but the fact she was our first Gnosia. Is it true, or are you just being like SQ, who would say that shit?
ああ、こっちだ。みんな待ってる。
Everyone. I mean, sorry, the element I gotta talk over the opening anyway. The element that we see in the opening, that there's a ton of people. Maybe we just got done the tutorial level, right? Maybe starting with 5 people twice, and hey, can you figure out who the Gnosia is? Twice was just the test to see if you understand the game mechanics and how the game is played. Now, let's bring everybody out and see what how it goes, right? The element once again is that I failed the tutorial twice, as it were. And now, if I'm correct, we're getting tossed into the deep end. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it was 2 time loops for the tutorial, and now it'll turn into a longer show where every episode will handle one thing, or one character, or something like that. I mean, I'd be interested in that. I would like a longer form thing where the details will matter, and I'll have to be able to guess episode to episode what's going to happen. Because if we get like 20 characters, and like an episode to figure out who's the Gnosia for every 20 characters, I might as well just start throwing darts at a board at that point. Yeah, I do like that element of the opening, where it's twisting back and forth down a hallway. Okay.
これで全員だね。
Just more of the people from before. So hopefully it just keeps getting harder and harder with more people.
ループして同じ時間を繰り返しても結果は変わるって言ってたけど。
けどそれは同時にここを抜け出すまでの長い旅の始まりでもある。
そういうことか。つまりループするたびに条件は変わる。グノーシーは誰かもわからない。
Oh, the glow is who the Gnosia was. I was like, who the hell is that glowing person?
このループからは脱出できないんだ。
Yeah, love is awfully suspicious.
落ち着け。条件が変わったとはいえ、会議も投票ももう3回目だ。
I'm going to admit, my first thought is, don't suspect Rakio. They're my person.
この7人のうち2名のグノーシア反応を検知して
Two.
おります。
Fuck.
そんな声してるんだユーリって。可愛いの。
Anyway, my point was, my first thought was don't suspect them. And I immediately thought, that's the thing that's going to kill me. It's going to be them. Can't get past this with you, Rakio.
それは短絡的すぎじゃん。
記憶喪失は事実だけど、即性学習の効果もあって、かなり記憶は保管されてきたよ。ラキオ。
ほう、これは興味深い。苦しくなって方針を変えたようだね。いいだろう。余計怪しくなったと周りは思うだろうけどね。
そうでしょう。
Was it step 1 trying to prove yourself to Rakio?
と断定するには少々説得力に欠けるかと思いますが。
Oh, were they both part of the same fleet? They kind of have the same motif going on.
ラキオは今までと変わりない。頭の回転が速すぎるせいで、会議を自分が思う方向にリードしているように思われてしまうんだ。このままだと、また。
You're gonna try and save me from myself?
ユーリ、何？
僕が怪しまれるのは心外だけど、でもラキオのこの問題を解決しようという姿勢は本気に思える。
You know, there is that element of the opening where we see Yuri gets cryo-frozen. So that could happen in one of these.
こいつ。
そんなことしても無駄だよ。結果は変わらない。コールドスリープになるのは嘆かわしい。
Damn it. Again. You know, he might be doing this on purpose. They might be doing this on purpose. It's the thing I said before about the Gnosia being killed by Levi after everyone is done. Because if I'm right, that means the best chance of surviving is being in cryosleep. And I would think the smartest person on the ship would figure that out. Assuming that Rakio was one. There could still be two.
ラキオがグノーシアだったかどうかはわからないってこと？
そうであります、隊長。ラキオがグノーシアだったとしても1人。ラキオが人間だった場合はあと2人。グノーシアは残る。
Yeah.
だから反応は変わらず赤のまま。つまり、ラキオが人間だったかグノーシアだったかは今の時点では確定しない。
Okay, so I guess the assumption is that whenever he comes awake again in a new timeline, that is exactly as many crew members as there were. And they weren't playing the game before they woke him up.
いや、なんでもない。そうだ。説がグノーシアの可能性だってあるんだ。
Is it the alien? I mean the alien? I'm trying to follow on the fact that a previous timeline, the color of the fish indicated who the Gnosia was. And I feel like that fish was the color of this guy. It's disarming how friendly he is. Or they are, I don't know.
もう少し冷房効いてるといいんだけどな、ここ。
その服だからね。
服？違うぞ。これは皮膚だ。人工皮膚。前に事故ってな。まあ、これはこれで悪くないけどな。よし。
Okay, so he is human, though. He's just a human that looks like an alien.
塩分 3.5 か。
Dude, you have a fucking scanner. Can you not find the Gnosia? Okay, those of you who played the game, do characters in the game have special powers that they can use? Like, can she read if somebody is telling the truth? Can the alien scan one person per game? I feel like that'd be cool game mechanics.
そんなにお酒に弱いなら飲まなきゃいいのに。部屋は？
その前にステラのところだ。え？ったく、すっかりお前のこと気に入っちまってよ。俺が助けたかったのに。
助ける？
Also, that's your artificial skin. Does that just mean you're naked all the time?
それで。
ったく、雪なくった。
苦しいよ。
ここだ。
So, in the timeline where she exists, he gets injured for saving her? Is that what's the implied thing there?
なんて綺麗な花でしょう。
この子たち、私が品種改良して育てているんです。そうなんだ。よろしければ、この子たちの花が開いたらお知らせいたしますから、またこちらにいらっしゃってくださいませ。ああ、
必ず見に来るよ。
嬉しい。きっとですよ。
Here's the thing. I feel like we're meant to feel like it's her based on her interactions with Gina in the last time loop. And I've tried to subvert myself so many times by suspecting that not to be the case. I'm trying to guess what they want us to think and then guessing the opposite, and that has not worked. Alien guy? Nope, it was a woman to get murdered. Sorry. Setsu's not a woman or a man. Well, first time they've been murdered.
現状はこれかこれのどちらか。この会議で人間をコールドスリープしてしまうと、人間とグノーシアが同数となって、
Yeah.
グノーシアの勝利だ。なんとかしなきゃ。
It's funny. No matter how evil we have, one warp, and that's it.
さて、どうしましょうか。
Sorry, my subversion brain wants me to think that Rakio actually was one of the Gnosia, and there is only one left.
ラキオはどっちかわからない。
それで
いや、それでって言われても。
何かなかったか。今までグノーシアを見てきただろう。何かヒントになるようなことが。
Oh, that's the thing. The thing I was literally talking about.
あれは僕の直感でしかない。
Get her to lie, and if she lies, she'll do the thing.
話してもいいかな。
ユーリ様。
いや、こんなこと言うのは変だって分かっているけど。一応みんなに確認したいんだ。みんな人間だよね。
俺は人間だ。
はいはい、SQ ちゃん人間です。
それは意味があることでしょうか。グノーシアは巧みに嘘をつくと申しますし。
Not the can't.
でも元の性格は色濃く残るらしい。嘘をついてればわかるかもしれない。
私は
Swear what? You didn't say the human part.
ジナ。
ユーリは
Deflecting.
ジナは
私は人間。
Now, if that means what we think it means,
その熱視線、もしかして SQ ちゃんからジナちゃんに移り気っすか？浮気野郎は女子の敵ですぜ。
ジナは
now it could just be something she says that happens when she says human.
人間じゃない。
That's me trying to subvert myself again.
待てよ。いくらなんでも証拠もなしに一方的だろ。
ユーリ様でも
Can nobody else see that?
どうかと思いますが。
いや、そうか。たとえ僕が分かったとしても、みんなに投票してもら
Can
わ
nobody
な
else
きゃ
see
意味がな
the
いんだ。
effect?
ていうか、怪しいって言うならステラの方が怪しいと思う。
That was the 3 things that Setsu said about the cube.
残念です。
Is that a power he got along with the time loop?
待ってくれ。
Because if so, that would imply that no one's lied to him before except for Gina. That can't be true. SQ had to have lied to him.
本当なんだ。ジナはグノーシアで間違いない。
I would have to think they would vote for Yuri based on how he's acted right now.
終了しました。有効投票数5、投票率 100%。これより開票します。
頼む。
No, I guess not. Why them? I just mean from the point of legitimately, what did they do during the meeting that them? I subverted myself again.
お紅茶でもいかがですか？
嘘。
とっても気持ちよくなれますよ。
Also, SQ in the background not being a Gnosia. What was Gina again? We did double down. No, I said the whole what we went through with Gina before would make me suspect her, but obviously it wouldn't be her. Don't subvert yourself. I subverted myself.
これは
Are you a android now? What was that?
エンジニア権限。どういうことだ。
確かグノーシアが2人、エンジニアが1人いるって話だよな。
はい、その通りでございます。
グノーシア名乗り出るはずねえからほっとくとして、 エンジニアは誰なんだ？
So now we are introducing more and more of the game mechanics.
エンジニアというのは
そうか。記憶が混乱してるんだね。まだ。
エンジニア権限を持っている人間はデータへアクセスできる。そして誰か一人を選んで空間転移の間にその人がグノーシアかどうか 100% の確率で判
Oh,
定可能。
what I was asking before about the people, except their roles, and anyone can have the role.
何何？もしかしてユーリがエンジニア？
Well, don't say it. You'll out yourself and they'll attack you.
なぜならこの僕がエンジニアだからさ。
Rakio protecting the engineer and making themselves a target.
一人を選んでグノーシアかどうか判定するよ。そうだな。君かな。一番怪しそうだし。
And because he doesn't know who the engineer is, he picks his go-to target.
おお、こいつは何かありそうですぜ。
エンジニアは僕だ。
And that's fucking stupid.
おお、これは面白い。しかし墓穴を掘ったね。それは自分は嘘つきです。グノーシアですと言っているようなものだ。
確かにそうだ。
I mean, yeah, if Rakio made himself a target, why would you out yourself as the engineer?
どちらかが嘘をついていることは確定する。
それはお前にも当てはまるんじゃねえのか。
ほう、君は僕が嘘をついていると？
レビが特定できればいいんだけど。
I would have to think that if you're a Gnosia,
以上のことを判定するのは不可能です。
I have to think if you're the Gnosia, you wouldn't pick Rakio because Rakio's too smart to out themselves as the engineer, knowing what that would mean.
よく知らないから。私も同様です。特にユーリ様は今初めて声を聞くので。
Wow.
このループでは僕のことを好きではないの
The
か。
fuck? That implies the thing I said in my notes about
え、俺か？
anything can be changing.
俺はお前が本物の
Which means
エンジニアだ
anything
と
in
思って
any
る。
specific time loop is what matters.
あ、俺の勘は外れね
くだらないね。僕とユーリ、どちらか嘘をついていることは確定しているんだ。問い詰めて、どちらが嘘つきか明らかにすればいいだけじゃないのか。
よし、かかった。誰が怪しいか確証が持てない中では、誘導してくる者には誰だって警戒心を持つ。特にラキオのように頭がいい。
I like that we just keep carrying on that Rakio is like the smartest, always the first one, or one of the first ones to go.
いっそのことじゃんけんで決めたらいいんじゃね？
え、それも手かもな。神様が選んでくれるだろう。
私は嫌。そういうの嫌い。時間になりました。ではこれより投票に移ります。
I feel like at this point, you should always just ask Gina, are you human? Just to get it out of the way. Even if you can't prove it to anybody else, at least we would know.
勝機はあるはずだ。
I feel like at this point, I'm just gonna say Rakio is gonna get voted out.
信じるしかない。
I've chosen them, and they barely get screen time. And they spend all their screen time voting for Yuri.
投票は終了しました。有効投票数7、投票率 100%。これより開票します。
Who'd have guessed? The only reason I got it right is because it fucking happens every time. Though again, I think Rakio is doing it on purpose.
調べられるのは1日に1人。
はい。
He's doing it on purpose either to save himself in cold sleep, or this time to protect Yuri, the engineer.
つまりエンジニアが5人調べようと思ったら5日必要。普通に考えたらその前にグノーシアはエンジニアを宣言した人間を消そうとするに決まってる。
面白い道具ですね。
ああ、グラファイトに粘土を混ぜたもので調べたら鉛筆っていうらしい。
Yeah, they already implied stuff from Earth was like ancient history.
せっかくこの能力があるんだ。なんとか消される前に怪しい人間を調べてグノーシアだと確定し、みんなを説得したい。僕がエンジニアである以上、ラキオが嘘をついていたことは明白だ。
He-
つまりラキオはグノーシア革命
No, he's not.
となると
He's a genius. He was protecting the engineer from an idiot like you, the engineer.
何かあるはずだ。これだけ情報があれば
Did they say there was two Gnosia this time? I missed that. If so, I apologize.
デビー、
はい、何でしょうか。
一つお願いがあるんだ。
グノーシアが分かった。
マジかよ。
ああ、昨日エンジニア権限で調べたんだ。重道を。結果はグノーシア。
重道様が。
Unless there's a role that can
もちろんその可能性は
prevent the engineer from using their power.
ユーリがエンジニアを語ってる場合もあるだろ。ラキオの方が本物で。
確かにね。
慌てるな。冷静に落ち着いて。みんなにきちんと
I feel like he did not test him. He tested somebody else, and that he's trying to play a logic game here.
そのことを抜きにしても、君の行動には矛盾がある。嘘があるんだ。
嘘。
昨日の投票結果を見たんだ。重道、君は僕に投票したんだ。会議ではラキオと対立していたにもかかわらず、ラキオと二人で僕に投票した。おそらくグノーシア同士。
Well, then I guess he wasn't trying to protect him. I don't know what the fuck Rakio doing anymore.
僕を調べると言った。僕に嫌疑をかけ追い込むために。
でも失敗して自分が凍ることになった。ふんふん。確かに理屈は通ってますね。
でもよ。
I don't know. It seems like a real rudimentary play.
俺は有利を消しに行かなきゃおかしくないか。エンジニアとして俺を調べることは予想できるんだから。
That does make sense.
だから迷ったはずだ。昨晩、君もみんなの投票先を確認したんじゃないか。昨日、ジナは
You can do that?
重道に投票している。
This is the first time this has been a thing where you can see who voted for who.
それでジナを消す
Which,
こと
by the
に
way, I
したんだ。
love. Because this is what I've been doing in my notes.
君がグノーシアであることに気づいてないと信じて。残った時間は好きに話してくれていい。けど、僕は君に投票する。
じゃ、とっとと冷凍庫送り決めちゃおうぜ。
SQ is always the fucking wild card. SQ acts the same way, Gnosia or not, which is flippantly, I don't care.
二人がグノーシアで間違いないはずだ。
Well, obviously not.
頼む。頼む。頼む。
They can't turn green until like the last episode, right?
グノーシア反応が。
I'm just fucking wrong every time. I'm wrong about the ending of every episode every time.
おお、みんなのもの祝杯じゃー。やっほー。
やったやった。
ユーリ。
やったよ。やった。
But what now? Oh, do you have to get a perfect game to win? Okay, never mind.
どういうこと？グノーシアを全滅させたんだぞ。ひどかったんだぞ。
I believe there has to be an element here that Levi can hear this shit and doesn't do anything about anything ever. Oh, it's that girl from the opening? That seems to have psychic powers. Yeah. Again, it would be more surprising if I didn't watch the opening, and I do watch the opening, so... Is this a new ending? Sorry, now I'm commenting about how much I paid attention to the opening, and I instantly don't remember what the ending looks like. So yeah. I had myself drawn as Rakio, because I was told that this is the character that's most like me. Or, I should say, most like the characters that I like. Which is to be sure, they are the annoying twit amongst the group, because they're all about one thing, and that's pointing blame at Yuri. And Yuri, in their time loop, cannot find a way to convince Rakio it's not fucking me. And unfortunately, we've been burdened with the element that Rakio is supposed to be the smartest one. And is not really proving it, are they? So I really don't know what to do about that information. It just seems to me Rakio is either going to die first or get voted out first, or be one of those two firsts. Well, I asked before what would happen if they actually defeated Gnosia, and I guess came up with it in my own head that the game would end, but apparently not. So, for some reason, I keep thinking there's going to be a next time on, and I don't know how many times there hasn't been. Yeah. So, I guess here's the thing. To that one commenter that was suggesting that I was going to figure out everyone's personalities and be able to figure it out based on that, no, that's not going to happen. I am socially dumb. All I have to work with is clues and details about characters. And this episode answered that question almost immediately, that the elements of the characters themselves will change. So that little thing that I did on the board, hey, you're a soldier, hey, you have this relationship with that character, doesn't fucking matter. The element that one girl got saved by Yuri on the planet, and in the next loop she wasn't saved by Yuri on the planet, means that if I try to keep track of that, it's going to be pointless. The same way that someone gave Setsu the coffee on the planet, and I thought, oh, maybe this is Yuri, and maybe this will be developed over time. Seems to me that's going to be indicative that nobody gave Setsu coffee on that planet now, or maybe she got, or not a she, maybe they got the coffee on the planet themselves now. Like, that's an element that can change. And if anything can change, the only thing that matters is what's happening in any individual time loop. So, essentially, what it feels like is that consider all of these characters avatars, right? And that somebody is remotely playing them. So that every time they come in with like a little script, but they get the script wrong sometimes, and things can just change. That's what's happening. I don't know that it is important now to try and remember any aspect of anything. I'm gonna still keep doing the board and the notes. Don't worry about that. This isn't me like giving up or anything. This is just me trying to figure out what the important aspect is to focus on. And I guess that aspect is going to be gather as much information in the first couple of minutes of Yuri waking up to figure out what we can do with that. Because that also feels like the first vote is a crapshoot. God, yeah, my failure here is that I guess now there's going to be two Gnosia or Nos every time until we get more people, and then there might be three. So just assume two. And if the first vote is a crapshoot, to me anyway, that I cannot determine, did we vote out a Gnosia or not? So are we dealing with two or are we dealing with one? God. See, I would not have guessed what he said about our alien-looking guy. Shigami or something? I can't remember his name. I mean, obviously I'm going to have to go back over it, try and figure out in my head with the logic that he used, with my ability to then watch it on my own without, I'm not a believer of pause reacting. Never going to do it on this channel ever. I think I said that in the first episode of Gnosia here too. But I will pause when I'm watching on my own, and I'll rewind even too to try and figure shit out. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to do that to try and figure out his logic. Because what I thought was happening there was that I thought he actually used his detection thing on somebody else, and then tried to logic his way around what he did know and what was implied to who then it must have been. The fact that they introduced that you can see who voted for who during the warp, that's crazy. I mean, if you tried to betray somebody and vote for them and then it didn't work out, now your ass is cooked because they can see it. you better hope that if you're not the Gnosia and you voted for the wrong person, that the Gnosia actually kills that person. Because now you're at risk of them even falsely pointing the finger at you for being a Gnosia or trying to vote for you out of revenge. I don't know. I wish Rakio would do something more to help me out. It's great to be called the smartest person and then do absolutely nothing for 3 episodes straight. The most important thing Rakio did was introduce to us the concept of shifting timelines. Maybe, they did introduce the concept that there are people who can shift timelines. They've got this weird device on their back, wired up to them. What if Rakio can also shift timelines, and it's not that they are super repetitive? Maybe they know what's going on every time, and are intentionally doing the same thing every time. Playing a long game, if you will. I mean, I would love that. That's a thought out of nowhere, but I'm just trying to figure out why, if they're the smartest person, they're doing something every time that gets them knocked out. I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt to say that they're trying to get themselves frozen so that they would survive after the Gnosia takes everybody else out. Because, that would be a smart move for me. That would be the meta play, right? The assumption that the ship is going to kill the Gnosia when there's only Gnosia on board. And then wake everybody up in cryosleep, so you don't have to win the game to win the game, right? Anyway, that's just a thought. Yeah, I guess this was the most complicated one so far, only because we did 2 loops, the indication that you can't win. Yeah, how do you win? Because there's always going to be someone frozen, and after you freeze somebody, because if there's going to be 2 or more Gnosia going forwards, that's more than 1 vote. If there's going to be more than 1 vote, that means that somebody's also always going to get killed in the night. So unless you can somehow convince one Gnosia to kill another, which they don't do, as we also covered this episode, there's no way to win in one night. Unless you can convince a Levi who 2 or more Gnosia are all at once, and to do away with the voting protocol. Because again, I'm assuming Groundhog's Day rules, which is to say, you need a maximum victory. You need to achieve everything in the day to maximum. And you can't do that with 1 vote. Unless at some point, again, the element that we introduced, the engineer thing, would imply that more game mechanics and rules and whatnot are going to be introduced down the line. And since I'm unfamiliar with the game, I can't really guess what's going to happen here. So, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of screwed on that element. It's a watch and see sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it's too complicated, the last arc, for me to go over in my head, so it definitely feels like a note section thing, in which case, until next time, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?